Married men of Reddit, what was that dumb thing you did during your dating phase that you can't believe your wife ended up overlooking? Turned her down when she suggested we go on a date. Readers, I'm super awkward. I was working for Starbucks. She was a regular customer. I was new in town and noticed her a couple times. She was a regular customer and we got to some small talk, chatting about places to eat. She said there's an amazing taco place down the road, we should go sometime. I misheard her, thinking she said you should go sometime. I replied with I'll definitely check it out. I handed her a drink and she left very awkwardly. She was back in the next day and, against all odds, I was able to clear up the misunderstanding and I wrote my number on her Starbucks cup. We went to that taco place for our first date and she was right, it was amazing. 3 years married and 2 kids later. Really glad she saw through my awkwardness. We had a couple great dates and things were looking promising. Then I got super busy at work and didn't contact her for about 3.5 weeks without giving her a heads up. She decided to move during this time. After things calmed down at work I text her again. We worked things long distance and finally got married. She reminds me that I didn't ask her out again for a very long time, every few months. Not me, but my first door neighbor's story. I didn't know their story until one day another friend told me what happened, and she confirmed it. She was at a party, and caught him looking at her every now and then. She kinda liked him so she decided to make the first move. She took a few shots for courage and went in. As time passed by she continued to drink while talking to him, and got hissed drunk, like not being able to walk drunk. He was a type of guy that didn't drink that much at all, and presumed she can drink a lot, but when she stood up from couch after a few hours the alcohol swept her to the ground. So as a gentleman he offered to carry her home. Note that was when we were late teens, no car, no money. So he started piggyback her home. That was like 30-45 minutes walk, like normal sober walk. He managed to carry her on his back about 500 meters from her home, and stopped to take a break for a moment. His back hurt him AF, so he decided to carry her in his arms. A few steps away, and he notices very unpleasant smell. Since he isn't from our parts and it was rural area, he asked barely conscious her, what is that ducking stink? She just mumbled, I shat my pants, then proceeded to pass out in his arms. Only coming back to mumble, duck sorry, and passing out again. So what guy does? He brings her home and lies her on floor, since he was afraid of messing up her bed or couch, and left home. But, few moments after he comes back, wakes her up and asks would she mind if he helped her shower, since she can't sleep. I'll shut up, mostly because it's not hygienic, safe, and her whole house and everything would smell. She agreed, and after he bathed her she asked him to sleep in her bed, in case she needed him. So one time I asked Guy how the duck did he got over that. He said they clicked at the first glance, and he just felt that he needs to take care of her because he took responsibility to bring her home all alright. And if she said no to bathing he would back off, but then wouldn't be with her, cause heating yourself while dead drunk is still understandable, but sleeping whole day like that would be too nasty. He laid beside her until she fell asleep, and then watched TV until she woke up. They were inseparable since then. Since that first date I have never seen them apart. It's been almost 15 years since then, and just recently they got beautiful little daughter. I get very nervous around women that are into me, and especially when I know she's watching me do something. Even something trivial. On an early date, we went to the local shop to pick up some things for a picnic, including some gum. I was thinking really hard and aware that I was being watched. I had this. Money on the counter, gum in your mouth. Money on the counter, gum in your mouth. Easy. Suffice to say, when I put the gum on the counter and the €2 coin in my mouth, the cashier was baffled and my girlfriend, now wife, was crying with laughter. We drank a lot on our second date, Ubered home. Next day went back to get his car, and it wasn't there. He was so devastated. He just bought it recently and it was stolen. We filed a police report. Took forever and just generally sucked. We walked to his friend's house nearby, and there was his car, perfectly unstolen. He drank so much he forgot he moved it before our date. Now, once in a while when we're trying to find our car in the grocery store parking lot or wherever, one of us will say it's stolen. Call the police. My husband did this once too, and he didn't even have the excuse of being drunk. He was visiting someone in the hospital, and when he went to leave, he couldn't find his truck. He looked around for a while but swore it wasn't where he parked it. He called the police to report it stolen, and the police show up. They end up finding his truck on another level of the parking garage. We live in a pretty small town and own a little store. Occasionally an officer will stop by to buy a soda or something and ask my husband if his truck has been stolen lately. 5 years ago, after dating for 2 weeks, I accepted a job offer on another continent. I told her we didn't know each other well enough for me to pass up an opportunity like that, and if it was meant to be, it would work itself out. Well, it was meant to be, and we got married this spring. Edit, added some more story to comment below. Accidentally set her hair on fire with a match while lighting a cigarette. Not good. We are still married 29 years later. I don't smoke anymore. Wife was a devout animal lover and activist. Planned proposal at a fancy Tokyo restaurant that only takes 3 tables a night and has 11 courses, which was filled with all sorts of innovative things, so you're never quite sure what's coming next. In between one of the courses, the chef brings out a cute little glass bowl for us to play with some squid. The chef informs us these are firefly squid that's local to the bay. My wife is delighted and practically named them. 2 courses later they reappeared as entrees, floating on a glass plate lit up from below and arranged to look like they're swimming. She still said yes, but have never let me forget that I took her on literally the worst dining experience she had, and I had paid the most ever for. Not my story, but my parents. Some backstory: my dad has a brother who's only a couple years older. Growing up, they'd commonly try to steal food off each other's plates just to be assholes to each other. This was remedied by plate guarding and offensive maneuvers with utensils if hands got too close. On my parents' first date, my mom reached for something to try off my dad's plate and he instinctively stabbed her hand with his fork, drew blood and everything. He was obviously mortified, glad my mom was crazy enough to keep dating, marry, and procreate with the fork stabber. Soon to be wife here. When we first met, it was during an introduction class or something like that. He kept kissing the teachers and talking loud too much and just being kinda of a show off. I wanted to punch him in the face. Come to find out he's in almost all my classes, and for lunch a couple of girls and I decided to go to McDonald's. He invited himself. I was annoyed. 2 months into our relationship he confessed that he saw me and was intrigued and wanted to get to know me, so he did everything to get my attention. He's an extrovert. I'm an introvert. I'm surprised he managed to actually get my attention. We've been together for 10 years, getting married on the 23rd of September. Little late to the party, but here's my story. When we had only been dating a month or so, my then boyfriend went to pick me up, I assume, and accidentally threw my head through the ceiling and gave me a concussion. He's 6 feet 8 inches and just really misjudged the distance. I also had a hard time getting used to his height and very regularly need him in the gonads for about 2 years while cuddling, so I think we're even. We've been together 6 years now and proud to say we haven't injured each other in about 4. She was about to sneeze and she was sitting half on my lap, so I kinda thought she was gonna sneeze on me and I DK what I was thinking, but I put my hand up to block her sneeze, except I had a glass in my hand and I blocked her own hand from covering her sneeze, and instead she slammed her face into my glass. Married 6 years now. She still has all her teeth. Wife here, but about 3 weeks into dating, my husband invited me to a house party at his best friend's place. We were playing beer pong, having fun. The other team is up. They toss the ball. I lean forward to try to block it. My now husband extends his hand out in front of me at the same time, catching the ball but at the same time hitting me in the eye and somehow pulling out 3/4 of my eyelashes. He felt terrible about it and tried to burn off his eyelashes in drunken sympathy. He hates when I bring it up, but I think it is the funniest story. On our first dinner date, my husband ordered a shit ton of food to show me his favorites at an Indian restaurant and forgot his wallet at home. and only discovered doing so when the check had arrived. Cleared me out well over $100 and he was absolutely mortified, but we've been married for near 2 years so. My card got declined on the first lunch date we went on. The bill was less than $20. I was ducking mortified. 15 years married now. I know what my husband would say, because I still tease him to this day. We had been dating for 2 weeks and were spooning on his futon, watching a movie. Out of nowhere he says, "I'm really sorry, I can't hold it in anymore," and rips a huge fart. My husband was a very clean, tight-knit, prudish kind of guy, so I couldn't help but let out the biggest laugh while he turned about as red as his beard. I made myself a burger for dinner before heading over to her place to hang out. Unfortunately, I'm not the best cook and left a little too much pink in that burger. While we were at her house, I bet her I could fit through the doggy door and crawled right through. Then she immediately closed it behind me and we raced to the front door. She won and she locked it. Now at this exact moment my bowels decided they had enough of that burger from earlier and I felt my stomach cramp. Luckily I held it all in and ran back to the back door with my cheeks clenched and starting knocking desperately in the door. She was laughing at first, but when she saw my face go suddenly serious and I said very calmly, "I need you to open the door now please." She unlocked the door and asked if I was okay. I told her to stay downstairs and turn the TV up loud. She agreed but was very confused. So I ran upstairs and then had one of the most violent sheets of my whole life. I thought the worst was behind me until I went to wipe. And of course no TP. So she took my instructions really well, and when I yelled to her, texted her, and called her, I got no answer. After probably like 10 missed calls she finally answered and I asked her to bring me some TP and leave outside the door and try not to breathe on the way upstairs. She was great about it and immediately started making fun of me when I came back downstairs. Now quite a few years later, a couple kids and cat, she's still making fun of me. First date with my wife. End of the night I went to kiss her on the cheek being all sweet and sheet. She thought I was leaning in for a hug and leaned in too. As she leaned in I turned my head and instead of her cheek I kissed her neck. Turned super red and embarrassed, then goodbye and almost pushed her out of the door at my apartment. I immediately texted her sorry as well and she laughed. 3 years into marriage she apparently didn't care. I can tell you for him. We were leaving his new apartment. Keep in mind we've been dating for a short amount of time. We haven't been through a lot of firsts yet. His apartment was on the back of the building so we had to walk through a small passage to get to the other side in order to leave. Imagine this passage is slightly shadowed but the light shoots through it so it creates this romantic silhouette. As we left his apartment and walked into this passage area he grabs my hand and pulls me towards himself. I'm thinking he is going to put my hand around his waist. How romantic. Locks my hand on his butt and loudly farts. It was a very brave move for a new couple. We've been married for 13 years now. We were taking a shower together and she was soaping up while I was under the hot water rinsing off and she slipped and instead of helping her I pulled away, thinking for some reason that I'd already rinsed off and didn't want to get soapy. Thank God she caught herself on the shower curtain and didn't get hurt. She was not happy. My explanation of my faulty thinking didn't help at all, either. We laugh about it now but it took some serious smoothing over at the time. Oh yay, it's not like you are in the shower and can't just rinse again. I didn't really do it but I thought he would be weirded out anyways. Very first time he stayed at my house. After about 3 hours of my 2 male roommates trying to make him uncomfortable, we went to bed and he put his contacts into shot glasses of water because he had no case with him. I don't know if that's a dumb thing to do. I've never worn them. Maybe we were drinking and that seemed like a good idea? Anyways. He had never had a pet and was kind of weirded out by my cat standing beside him and yell meowing at him all night. Is that normal? Is he mad at me or something? Dart. Woke up the next day to find out the cat drank all the water from the shot glasses, contacts included. I had to help him home because he is seriously blind without them. He still wanted to see me again even though the night was weird, and the cat became his best friend, despite some initial skepticism on both their parts. Edit. I just asked him why we put his contacts in water and he said it was contact solution from one of my roommates who had contacts but no spare case for him to borrow, so we use the shot glasses. Makes so much more sense. And Chuki was fine after drinking the solution, though we did call the vet. Totally forgot that part. Well, it was 17 years ago. My dad stalked my mom. They worked at a business together and he had a huge crush on her. He would sniff her coat when no one was looking, overhear conversations to learn what she liked and stare at her constantly while she worked at her desk. It worked out, of course, because plot twist, my mom stalked him right back, having on separate occasions followed him home and tried to find out places he liked to hang out. They have been married for almost 35 years and they are the happiest couple I know. Wow, this blew up more than I thought it would. I guess that whole yandere thing makes people love drama like this. To answer some popular questions, no, it's not like a weird anime. Maybe. With some details I left out, I guess I made it sound that way, but they are very much in love and happy. Do I find it creepy? Yes, but I was the outcome, so I think it turned out great. And am I stalker myself? I will admit, yes, during my high shook years I did, in less odd ways, stalk about to crushes, and no, they did not like me back. It was our first date and first time ever meeting, Tinder. I told her beforehand that I'm so excited to meet her and that I won't stop hugging her for anything once we're together in person. Fast forward to when we first meet in the parking lot of a haunted house and I stay true to my word. Too true, she tried breaking away from the hug and I said nope. We're gonna walk to the door of the haunted house while still hugging. After about 4 steps of trying to walk hug, I accidentally trip her and she falls right to the ground. This was all within our first 30 seconds or so of meeting in person. We've been married 1 year as of this month. So how did you save that one? She thought it was the funniest thing ever, luckily. Almost every day she'll try to jokingly trip me to remind me of it. We had been dating for just a few months. Unexpected changes in housing situations led to us moving in together very quickly. I went to a party at a co-worker's friend's house for 4th of July. I proceed to drink like it's the end of the world. Evidently, at some point, someone offered me some acid, and I was so ducking hammered, I didn't have the good sense to say no. I also evidently start acting out so badly, I am removed from the party. She then has to come get me. The party just happened to be walking distance from where we were living, but I couldn't manage it on my own. And then has to deal with someone who is simultaneously blackout drunk and tripping gonads on acid, and not doing a very good job at dealing with either. She babysits me, having absolutely no familiarity with people on hallucinogens. And I'm definitely losing my shit. Only later do I even realize I'm tripping, and don't know why. Like, the alcohol finally wore off and I was like, okay, I'm tripping on something. What is it? This isn't mushrooms. I've got tracers, so this is probably acid. Duck. I'm on acid, and I have to be at work in 5 hours. She drove me, and I somehow make it through my day without getting fired. One of the worst days of my life. Anyway. We're now married with 2 kids. My career is soaring. I've gotten my drinking under control. She's the best mother a guy could ask for. Just a setup here, Shed just graduated as an optometrist. I'm still getting my prerequisites finished to get into med school and had been dating maybe 3 months. So in my book she's out of my league. She asked to make me a candlelight dinner of my favorite meal, spaghetti and meat sauce. Now keep in mind at the time I'm in grad school living really cheap. A Prego and shredded cheese guy, so I head over and she went the whole 9 yards. A real setup with nice music and a white tablecloth. Take my first bite and I must have made a face because she asked what was wrong. She had cooked the noodles al dente, which is something I'd never experienced. She asked if I wanted her to make something else for me instead and I said no, it's okay. I had a couple hot dogs before I came over just in case I didn't like what she made. Been married 20 years. To this day IDKWTF I was thinking, nor can I believe she overlooked that. We was sitting at movie theater when movie got over. She said wanna mess around, said sure was winter, took her to old parking lot and proceeded to do donuts with car. She was pure white as a ghost and her eyes almost poked out of her head. She then screams, "You ducking idiot, I meant fool around sexually lol. We'll be married 18 years in few months." Now she specifically spells out when she want to fool around and not car wise. On one of our first 5 dates my husband told me that he and his ex-wife were still very good friends and he hoped that someday she would be like an aunt to his kids. I love this man, but he says some dumb stuff. I'm the wife. Probably a year into us dating we fought about something neither of us can remember now. To make up for it he went and bought us both dessert, which was a sweet gesture. Of course he went and did it right after dinner, so I was still full and said I would shower and eat it when I finished my shower. Well, when I was in the shower he decided for some godforsaken reason to eat the dessert he bought for me, after eating his own serving of it. Everyone who has heard the story is very surprised our relationship lasted after that night. I did bring it up in my vows as an example of how I'll love him even when it's not the easiest thing to do. P. We were sleeping in her bed at her mother's house. I fell asleep and she was reading a book. I knew I sometimes could talk during my sleep, even move sometimes, but in this specific scenario I got on my knees, straddled her and started choking her. She told me all this the next day and I was mortified. I asked her how she knew I was asleep. She said your eyes gave you away. Apparently she patted my head lightly and I fell from her and continued sleeping. We dated for 5 years and married now too. I am still amazed to this day she is with me. My wife and I have a 12-year gap between us and I am hitting the age where everything is falling apart. As a joke for Halloween about 2 years ago I decided to shave my head and go as Kingpin to local Halloween party. Knocked it out the park. Everyone loved it. She made an offhand comment that she would divorce me if my hair didn't grow back. Guess what happened? Yeah, it didn't. My boyfriend thought he was unplugging my laptop and instead unplugged my mini chest freezer. Held a lot of freezer jam, homemade sorbet, some meat, prepared meals. I don't get in that freezer every day, so when I discovered it everything was very spoiled. It was very unpleasant to clean up. I was furious but I kept seeing him. He made a mistake. It's not a character flaw. I think it actually brought us together a little more. We were both recently divorced. My ex-husband would have insisted that his mistake was somehow my fault. His ex-wife would have given him a never-ending guilt trip. Instead the two of us handled it like adults. We've been together 3 years and counting. Lol, I hit my wife up trying to get with her friend. We hit it off and started talking every night. Later discovered that said friend was a complete bitch when I ended up staying with her and her boyfriend when I came to visit for Christmas 1 year. Now we're married, 2 years next month. Bonus story, we had been dating for a while, at the point where we had moved in together. We weren't shy about farts by this point. My wife is not a cuddler in bed. She gets claustrophobic and it makes her uncomfortable, which is fine by me because of her hair. Well, for some reason one night she decided to cuddle up to me and assumed the position of little spoon. In my mind, I thought she's gonna fart on me, so I decided to beat her to it. Quickly flipped over, pressed my butt right against hers, yelled "oh yeah!" and let one rip. We still laugh about it to this day, and the words "oh yeah" always trigger a giggling fit. Lost my lighter, so lit a cigarette on the oven an hour before our first date. Leant over, sparked it and burned off my eyelashes and my right eyebrow, always going at an angle, not staring straight down like me. 3-year wedding anniversary last week. I'm not allowed near fire. She was wearing the most gorgeous dress and looked amazing in it, and she was pretty happy with that dress too. I was still messed up over my last ex even though it was almost 2 years removed. I was scared of my feelings or I did not understand them, and for whatever reason I said I don't like dresses after a pretty spectacular date for no reason at all. I regularly try and find excuses to get her in a dress to make up for it. She laughs about it and has long since forgiven me, even though she said there was nothing to forgive. But my heart ducking stops every time I think about it. 8 years later still. It was so ducking dumb. I could have lost her over something so goddamn stupid. Getting absolutely trashed at her best friend's wedding. Puking in her parents' car in the way back to the hotel and taking care of my dumbass when my blood sugar went low. Hovered around 60 and 80 for a while, due to all the alcohol. I'm diabetic and she more or less nursed me back to good blood sugar levels. Once my sugar was good she put me in bed and I was miserable the next day and a half. I don't drink anymore. Also on a bit of a lighter one. The day I proposed to her I did it during one of my band shows on stage. We planned this for weeks. And to get ready for the show maybe a week out with 1 or 2 rehearsals left I had to skip her birthday that year to do to this. We had it all set then changed the song we were going to play after her last minute so I had to cancel seeing her. She wasn't happy at all, even day of she was still a bit agitated. Come day of and I'm on stage and in a fit of nervousness during the moment when I went to go grab the ring I whacked her on the head accidentally with my bass headstock. I immediately turned around and kissed her head. So if you watch our proposal you hear me talking before getting her in stage, me accidentally hitting her with my bass and her yelling ouch. She said yes, for some reason, and we played Dancing in the Moonlight by Thin Lizzy in dedication to her and our relationship. I think I made up for missing her birthday that year. I was on my second date with her at my favorite Irish pub showing her pictures of New Orleans because she'd never been. Upon skimming through pics of the trip from the year before, where I'd taken my ex, I'd accidentally had left one of my ex's topless pics in our hotel room and immediately skimmed past it. I was convinced she never saw it until she admitted she saw it a year after the fact. Regardless, it was erased after that night in the pub and I did a thorough scan of my pics to make sure I'd never make the same mistake twice. 3 months into my relationship, I took my wife to Dave & Buster's for some food and drinks. I felt fine inside but as soon as we walked outside to walk towards the Borders, similar to Barnes & Noble, I felt my stomach churn. I have a horrible phobia of going number 2 in public and kept telling myself I can hold out. When we were in the bookstore I sat in a chair while she perused some magazines and ultimately she realized something was wrong as I had cold sweats and was turning pale. I advised I didn't feel well and asked if we could go home. As I walked towards the car from the strip mall, I used every ounce of strength to kegel my asshole, but as I reached the curb leading towards our car, before I could step down to the asphalt, I let loose that evil into my jeans. I stood there for a good minute as it oozes out of me and slowly down my pant leg. I took a step and realized it was down my calf and to prevent it from leaving a trail, I wrapped the top of my sock around my pant leg to contain it. When we got to the car, I advised that I just sheet myself and to roll down every window. She climbed into her car and began looking for empty bags and trash for me to sit on and also did not laugh once during our 15-minute ride home as I was sitting in my own excrement. When we get to her house, I run into the bathroom and jump in the shower with my pants on to wash away the shame. After showering, I threw the jeans and briefs away in a plastic bag and wore her oversized basketball shorts which felt like Speedos on me. I got in bed with her and now clean. We both laughed about the events of the night. That was the night I knew I'd have to make her my wife. I was a young man in the army and went to a Taco Bell on my motorcycle. Man, I thought I was cool. Cute girl behind the counter took my order. I ate and while I was getting on my bike, a different girl came out and asked for my number. I told her I was in the army and didn't really have a number, and she was like, "It's not for me, it's for the blonde behind the counter." I was like, "Oh yeah, here is my number." We married 20 days later, were married a month short of 25 years before she passed.